Let's look at what I have growing today. Hi, my name is Tracy and I'm growing in Central Texas, but what I want to do is show you what I have started in my kitchen. I have this little grow light set up. It's a little makeshift while I'm getting my greenhouse ready, but I got a little anxious in starting tomatoes. So as you can see, they are ready to do something with, and I'll be showing you what I'm gonna do with that later. I'm also trying a lot of herbs that I've never tried before, so I don't actually know what the growing habit is of a lot of these, but the best way to learn is to just grow them and see for yourself. That way you know what the seedlings look like, you know how fast they grow, how slow they grow. If they grow too fast, just stick them in a pot, see if they live. If they die, start them again. They could grow fast, right? I've started things at the wrong time this way, I've killed things this way, but I have a lot growing.
Grow so much that people don't notice how much you kill.
So as I mentioned, this is in my kitchen, and the nice thing about this being in my kitchen is, well, first of all, I can watch it nonstop. I'm here every day, I eat every day. Also, I can look outside, and if you notice, you see my garden beds right outside the window. And the way my garden's positioned is it stretches down the side of my house because our side yard is rather large. This way, it's on the south side. It gets lots of sun, usually too much sun, but I can grow stuff earlier in the year because I get the southern sun. It extends my season just a little bit. So the first thing is I have plants growing quite a few different ways. I keep trying different things. I have a couple favorites, but I'm always looking for a better way to do it. I think for tomatoes I have a favorite, but getting the actual seeds started is something I'm still tinkering with. Usually it comes down to how much seed starting soil I have and how many containers I have and how much space I have. You know, obviously being in Texas, I can grow quite a bit just by putting a seed in the ground, but it gets kind of dry here, and so usually the seeds dry out, or the birds get them, or the bugs. It doesn't get cold enough to kill all the bugs here. So that's why I start seeds inside. Also, it's fun. So this is I'm going through a medicinal herb phase, trying to see what medicinal herbs I can get growing here. I'm not actually sure how much will grow in my climate. We just get so hot, and I'm not really great at watering. So here is St. John's wort, self-heal. Now again, one of the nice things is I get to see what these look like as seedlings. A lot of these self-seed really readily, as in they bloom, have really pretty flowers, drop the seeds from the flowers, and then suddenly you get 18,000 plants. That's what my cosmos did last year. But this way I can see what they look like when the little baby seed's coming up, so I don't pull it thinking it's a weed. So these are just containers I've saved, and what I've done is I put them in toilet paper rolls. I'm trying to be eco-friendly because we're in Austin. Put seed starting mix in them on the bottom. I just folded them in, just like that, and put a little vermiculite in with the seed starting mix. The vermiculite helps hold some moisture. It's a rock that absorbs quite a bit of water, and you can mix it in with your seed starting mix with perlite, peat moss, coconut coir. All that stuff helps hold moisture against the seedling without it actually getting too wet, like sitting in water. Here I have alyssum, which grows little white flowers. I'll post a picture in there. These are pansies. I'm trying to grow my own front yard flowers there. And this is chamomile. I, for some reason, have not been able to get chamomile growing. I've bought starts from the nursery. I put it in. Look, I mean, you can see there's a little baby chamomiles starting to grow. I don't know what I do wrong with them, but we're trying again. We just keep trying. So here's another way I'm trying to grow my milk jug. Some people call this winter sowing, although this is not winter sowing because it's not outside. I plan on putting it outside eventually. I just haven't done that yet because we had that freeze and I wasn't quite sure. So here I have marigolds growing here and calendula growing here. So the marigolds have popped up and they're loving life, which is fun. And it looks like the calendula is starting to come along too. So I'll put these outside soon and do the whole, I really don't think we get cold enough here to warrant taping it up like you normally do with winter sowing, so I probably won't do that. Now this right here is my experiment that I think has gone wrong. I think it's molding. This is ginger, this here is ginger, and this here is turmeric. I'm pretty sure the ginger has mold on it. I don't know if the turmeric does, but I also haven't seen any activity from it yet. But figure I'll just leave it sit there, and if it gets really moldy, I'll probably do something about it, but maybe parts of it will grow. I don't know. We'll see. So here's another little way I'm growing things. This is a extra pan left over from Thanksgiving. Actually, this is too. This is the top of this pan. So these two, I think something might have gone wrong because, let's see, it's been about a month ago I started them and they haven't done anything. I know lavage takes a while. Marshmallow, I saw it coming up and then it died. So I don't think I did that one right. This one I started again. So this used to be stevia, now it's nasturtiums. I think the stevia, I only had like 3 seeds for the stevia and I think they were old, so I think it just went kaput. So now we're doing nasturtiums, we're starting again. This is another way that I'm growing things. These are from cuttings. I had some extra herbs from Thanksgiving, so this one I stuck in some water until I saw a couple roots started to form on them, and then I stuck it in potting soil, and I think it is taking off now. This is tarragon, and it looks like we have a plant because it used to be about an inch tall. Also, I think I saw some roots coming out the bottom. Yeah, look, there's some roots. We definitely have roots. Once I had such success with this, I tried it with a couple other things, other herbs like thyme, rosemary, sage, and some of those are supposed to be really easy to do this with, but they struggled a little bit. So what I started doing is dipping it in this take root rooting hormone. And the rooting hormone gives it just a little bit of extra oomph to get started with those roots. I think. I haven't actually grown it out. But that's what I did with these. So this is thyme and this is rosemary. So we're gonna pretend this little pea sprout is rosemary and thyme because I don't have one right now. So you get this from the grocery store in those little bags. I do have some right now. They were sitting on my table drying, but I already did the stuff to them. So I just got the little thyme and tarragon and sage in these little bags. Yes, I'm in Texas, so they came from H-E-B. And all I did was I took my little herb thing and I stripped the bottom leaves off it. Something like that's a little long, so take it off at the bottom, make it a little shorter. But you want some type of node in the ground, and a node is just what those little leaves come off of. Look, there's quite a bit of leaves on here. It really doesn't look like a whole lot, but compared to this has more leaves, right? And so what I did, I took off the bottom leaves, put in the rooting hormone, put it in the dirt, and then cut some leaves off. And you can cut the leaves and it's fine. It'll hurt the tip of it, but it won't kill the plant. And the idea is to have, this plant doesn't have any roots, right? And so you want the top and the bottom to be balanced. So the amount of leaves to the amount of roots to be roughly balanced. That's how these plants grow. You see a giant tree with lots of leaves and it probably has the same size root system underground. So we want to balance that a little better to give it a fighting chance to get those roots started. So here are those thyme and rosemary plants that I rooted, or trying to root, and I believe some of them are starting to take, because this one looks pretty puny, right? But this guy, look at this guy. I believe I see some growth, or at least some greenery. You know, green is good. Green means it's not dead, and it has a chance. Here are 2 other ones I did that exact same things with. These are both, all 3 sage, And they weren't looking great. They weren't rooting in the water when I was trying it that way. So I put them in the soil to see if that would help, and I mixed them in with some rooting hormone to see if that would get it started. And honestly, I think this one isn't taking, and I think this one might be dead too. But look at those little leaves. Look at those leaves. I think it's alive. I think it's alive. Now these little guys are moringa trees. And moringa is supposed to be very healthy for you. I've never actually gotten it to grow past this stage, so right now we're looking pretty good. And I just have them in old milk jugs, and I think this is orange juice. But they are looking great. I am really happy with these guys. Look at those roots. So here's another one I wasn't quite sure what it grew like. I just didn't know. And so I put it in this little to-go container just to see what it would do. And it's actually growing. So this is hyssop, and it apparently likes lots of light because it keeps trying to go to the light. Some of these don't care, but this one seems to really care. So it's not growing in a whole lot of soil. You can see the roots at the bottom, but I think this one's gonna live, and I might transplant it soon into something a little more appropriate for this size plant. I think it's okay for now, but I ran out of room close to the light, so I just put it there to get it close to these brighter grow lights. Oh, look at those tomatoes. Oh, those are such happy tomatoes. So, as we decided a little earlier, this marshmallow doesn't look like it's gonna grow. I've given it a month and a half. I think we can call it. Out we go. So today we're gonna be starting this year's single seed challenge. And I actually haven't done this before, but Scott Head with Black Gumbo Gardening in Houston, he has this challenge. And this year we're gonna be doing a tepin pepper. I've never grown this before, but I know peppers grow really well here in Texas. And I don't need a lot of them, so one plant's just fine. So we're gonna give it a go. I don't know how good these seeds are. They are from this subscription that I had where they'd send you 10 seeds or 10 packs of seeds a month for like $10, and you get like 5 seeds. And it was a good way to get introduced to different plants and different seeds and different types, but ultimately I stopped it, but I haven't tried this one yet. So I won't be able to show you absolutely every variety I have growing today, but it'd just be too long for today's video. So I'm just gonna show you how I have my tomatoes growing. I have them in these red solo cups. I just found that I always had them on hand, and they make for nice deep root systems with lots of flexibility. I cut the little edges off with scissors to provide some drainage holes, and I put 5 or 6 seeds in the soil. And so these have been growing, oh, they smell so good. These have been growing for about a month or so, and they're ready to separate and up pot. You know, in some climates, this is how big you put them out in the garden. I like to let mine get a little bigger just because we have so much wind here that they get obliterated if they're not big enough for me to stake or tie to something. So I like to let them get really big. Also, we get so hot so quick that the more jump start I can get on the season, the better. So these are Paul Robeson's. I have quite a variety of large heirlooms. I mostly grow heirlooms. I do have a couple hybrids. I don't really have a tremendous preference between the two. I just really like those big slicers. So these are all tomatoes, all this entire tray, and I need to separate them, and I'll show a video of me doing that. I raised my grow light just a little bit so you can see my peppers a little better. Hot peppers just take so long to get started, and we're so warm here that I can start them so early in the year that I found that I almost can't start them soon enough. By the time my peppers from last year die, it's time to start new ones. So this year I overwintered quite a few, so I don't have as many growing as I normally do. So I have grande jalapeno and habanada, both of those are growing. And then I have a couple sweet peppers started, but those grow faster for me, so I didn't need to start them as early. And a couple eggplant, like this is an eggplant here. I decided a little later to grow those. And then this is a tomatillo. Those grow really fast and big for me. They grow more like a tomato than a pepper, but I wanted to get a head start on those too. And then scattered in here are more herbs, and like this is valerian. That's supposed to be medicinal. Again, haven't grown that. We have lemongrass over here, lemon bee balm. We have some collards that I need to get planted out because those are ready to go out in the garden. Down here is my little windowsill garden. This is my daughter's fairy garden, which has sweet peas and mustard and ryegrass, I think, which it has such little space to hold the water that it dies real quick. But this is feverfew, and it's supposed to be really good for headaches and fevers, but based on the name. And I put it in one of those strawberry containers, and it really seems to love it. So I'm just gonna let it grow a little bit bigger, and then I'll put it in some pots, let it get nice and solidly started before I put it out in the garden. Again, I'm not entirely sure how it grows. I've never grown it before. I don't know how it's gonna like Texas or my poor soil or any of it, how much sun I have. I get like 25 hours of sun a day in my garden, so plants have to really be robust to live. I don't have enough shade quite set up yet for some of them. But we'll see what feverfew does. A lot of these medicinal herbs that I have growing are supposed to be borderline invasive. But you know what? I'm dealing with Bermuda grass here, and gosh darn it, I need invasive plants to battle that. One more thing I have started is my sweet potatoes. I have sweet potatoes going a variety of ways just because, you know, they just really like this environment, so they kind of do their own thing most of the time. But if I try to force it, this is how I'm trying to force it, is the water method. There are some roots starting in there. These are sweet potatoes I grew last year, and I just stuck them in the pantry all winter. And I have a little bit of sprout coming off of it. So the way sweet potatoes work is they're different than Irish potatoes. Irish potatoes you put in the ground, and then they grow other potatoes from that potato. This one, the sweet potatoes, you grow slips is what they're called. You grow little mini plants off of the sweet potato. You root them, they become big vines. You root the vines, or you get some roots coming off of the vines by having them in water. And then you stick those vines in the ground, and the vines grow sweet potatoes. If I were to stick this in the ground, and there are some out in the garden that I forgot about, it would just grow lots of vines with this as the sweet potato. So I wouldn't necessarily get more sweet potatoes. I'd get a ton of vines, which isn't most of our goals. Sweet potatoes are edible, like the vines are. The leaves are supposed to be like spinach. I haven't actually tried it, but I know people who eat them. I have other things that I grow in the summer for spinach, like leaves, and usually they're growing on the ground, so they get a little dirty for me. But, you know, they are plentiful if you're in a hot climate. The final thing that might be catching your eye is this cilantro plant that might look like it's doing great to most people, but I'm sure many of you have noticed these pretty little flowers on this cilantro plant. It has gone to seed. It is no longer yummy tasting cilantro. This has now officially become a coriander plant. Coriander is the seed of cilantro. So I don't actually need more coriander. I had a cilantro plant go to seed last year, and I have a gallon bag of coriander, but I don't have the heart to kill this one yet. So I don't know. I'm just letting it grow as a house plant, I guess, now. I have two more things growing in my kitchen. This is on top of my espresso machine, but I noticed there's a nice flat surface right next to the under cabinet lights. and I ran out of room at my grow light station over there. So this is thyme, and it's growing in one of those water container jug things on top of a to-go lid. And it seems to be doing okay. It wasn't getting enough light, which is why I moved it over here. It looks better from above than from below. But it smells really good. So I think I'll just let it get bigger and then start potting it up. I'll probably divide this into 4, so cut it into 4 different slices and try to make 4 different pots out of it. Put you back on my coffee machine, which was my splurge when I had a baby. And then on top of my other coffee machine, because coffee happens a lot here, we have eggplant, tomatoes, and ground cherries. And they are actually sending up some leaves. Look at that little guy. I need to get that in soil. Actually all of these are, except for the ground cherries, I believe. Ground cherries take a while. I put the ground cherries in here because my other ground cherry failed. I think the seeds were old, so I'm trying again with Aunt Molly's ground cherries. These eggplants are supposed to be really fun. Look, it's a white eggplant. You know what white eggplant looks like? Eggs. I'm gonna grow eggs in the garden. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. These celebrity tomatoes are supposed to be the tomato to grow here in Central Texas. They're a hybrid, but you know, hey, if every single gardener in the area likes it, I should at least try it. And these Black Beauty ones are supposed to be the darkest tomato that I've seen, at least. I've not grown them, but they're supposed to be amazing. And then these eggplants. Okay, these were described in the Baker Creek catalog as an eggplant that's a cross between a pepper, a tomato, and an eggplant. And it kind of looks like a stripy tomato, but it's an eggplant. And I just had to try it. I have to see what that actually tastes like. So I'm not gonna try to pronounce it, but that is the name. So look that up. Baker Creek had it at least a month ago. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I will let you know how that goes. It should grow well here. Anything that's related to a pepper, tomato, and an eggplant should love my climate. In case you're wondering why there's foil on top of this light, and you might have already been wondering what is going on with this setup, but you know, I'm an engineer full-time and I tend to do this type of backwards engineering here, but this foil is to try to reflect some of this light down so it's not shining in my eyes across the room. These are wreath stands that I got from a home goods store, and they go up and down, which makes it a fabulous little stance. They have a little screw that I can make this taller and shorter with, and I have the zip ties hooked onto, oh, what is this? Extra wire that I had in the garage. So 2 zip ties to make it long enough to hook on to the wreath holder, which is holding on to wire. And then I was able to fit 2 lights like that to kind of shine a wider band. Yeah, I definitely need to get stuff into the greenhouse and stop doing this. But it works. Things are growing. It's green. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.